Joining me right now to kick off our second hour here on Peacock is somebody who I'm thrilled to be able to call a friend, and also another coach turned broadcaster, terrific in his own right, spending the last 8 years, I believe, sitting on the NFL Network draft set with us when there's not a pandemic. Stanford head coach of the football program there, David Shaw. How are you, Coach?
I'm great, Rich. How are you, man?
Better for talking to you. How's your family? Everybody okay? Good, well, I hope. I trust.
Everybody's doing really well. We're safe. Kids are about to start their online school again, and we are all huge Monk fans. So I'm excited about Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, that's it, David. Well done. And when download Peacock if you already haven't. When you can watch it whenever you want. When you're not.
I already have it. I already downloaded it.
I love it, Coach. You know what? There is an I in David, but you are definitely a team player when it comes to the Rich Eisen Show. So let's talk about what's going on in your world. There's so many ways to approach what's going on with Pac-12 football. I will just come straight through the front door with you first and ask if you agreed with the Pac-12 decision to move off of the fall season.
Unequivocally. Absolutely agree. And I'm one of the fortunate ones. I was part of the Pac-12 working group. And I was also in the NCAA working group, where we talked a lot about these issues. So I was able to see the entire progression. And a lot of people forget we all started with the process way back in March, April with two questions. Can we do this, and should we do this? And we got to the point where it was really hard to answer both of those questions as the season was rapidly approaching.
So then let me flip the equation and ask the question of you that so many fans of Big Ten football are asking, and Nebraska parents are asking, and head coaches of football programs there have intimated. Why can't we do this? Let me flip it and ask you that way.
So I'll rattle off the top six things. One, and the one that shocked and it really hurt our entire process, was this potential for the heart abnormality. And for us to not have a clear and concise and definite answer about how this virus can affect your heart, short-term and long-term, was really hard for a lot of some of these world-renowned cardiologists to answer. Right, we're finding different things about this virus at all times. Every single week seems like something else pops up. Oh, we thought this, now it's this. And this is one of those things we always talk about. The brain and the heart, we have to be extra cautious. Besides that, we all are operating under an assumption that these masks, helmet shields, and our testing process is going to keep the virus out. Unless you create a bubble, you can't keep the virus out. It's our student athletes in particular engage with society. They engage on their campuses. It's hard to completely sequester them and be college sports, because we're not just talking about football. We're also talking about all the fall sports. And the testing thing, which is combined with what I just said, but then also a separate piece. We can't do what the NFL is doing, which is test every single student athlete in every single sport every single day from now through the entire fall semester. That is a really, really difficult thing. The last thing for me is a quote that's not my quote, but I heard two doctors quote it, so I don't know who to give the credit to, so I'll just say it. They said the worst thing to do in a pandemic is take a large group of people from one area to another area, engage in physical activity with another large group, and then return to your original area. Regardless of sports, that is a difficult thing to conceive and do with a virus that has not slowed down or stopped in the last 6 months.
David Shaw, Stanford University head football coach here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so having heard that and said that, why are three other Power 5 conferences still moving ahead, do you think?
I can't answer it per se. I do know a lot of people, both commissioners, athletic directors, coaches, et cetera, at a lot of these places, and they are doing everything they can. And many of us were as well. Like, you are testing your student athletes. We all believe the best place for our student athletes is with us. Everyone has said that repeatedly, and I agree with that 100%. The hard part now is to say, can we, without a shadow of a doubt, create an environment to where we can travel, participate in games, practice, engage in society, engage on our campuses, and tell our student athletes and their parents that we are doing something that's right for them. Because the other part of this, too, is there are a lot of people involved. It's not just the student athletes. You've got coaches, you've got trainers, you've got doctors, you've got equipment personnel, you've got all kinds of people that it takes to run a football team. And those people are at risk as well. And so it's not just the 18 to 22-year-olds that, for the most part, there are some exceptions, for the most part, can handle the virus, et cetera. But there are a lot of people that are closer to you and I's age that don't handle the virus as well. And God forbid a young person ends up being thrown on a ventilator, as happened a few times, a few different places. God forbid a trainer, a coach, someone else associated with a sports team contracts the virus and dies. Like, that's a hard thing to say, that it's worth it, that we can't put it off, that we can't give these young people their eligibility back. Look at playing either in the winter or in the spring, or even look in the fall of 21 and say, let's do this when we have more answers. Let's do this when we believe it's a little bit safer. Let's do this where most people, not just the student athletes, but everybody associated, can operate with a little bit more certainty that it's safe.
So do you think, David Shaw, when it all comes out in the fall football wash, whenever that might be, that the ACC, SEC, and Big 12 will eventually come to the same conclusion that your conference and the Big 10 have already come to?
I believe one of two things is going to happen. One is there is a chance that, whether it's the NCAA Board of Directors, it's Dr. Hainline, who's the chief medical officer for the NCAA,
yep,
has said multiple times in the last couple of weeks, and once on your show,
yep,
that the path is extremely narrow. It's extremely narrow for fall sports this year, with a virus that continues to rage. College campuses repeatedly are opening and closing within a week, sending people away, quarantining people. The path is extremely narrow. So either someone, board of director-wise, someone at the conference level looks and just says, we've been operating at a high level and doing this really well, but we can't see competition happening. Or they continue, and we still miss multiple games. We still have young men and their families at some point in the season saying, hey, you know what, this isn't worth it. We're opting out. And you will have a disrupted season. Maybe some teams won't, but a good portion of teams are going to have, much like it's happened multiple times the past 2 weeks, you might be gearing up for a game, and a university or a college team shuts down, and you lose your game. So that was a lot of fears with our guys, too. What kind of a season would we have if we did have a season? The schedule to play 10, would we play 6? Would we play 5? Would I lose my eligibility? Would it be worth it? Those are questions that are really hard to answer on the front end of this season.
Stanford University head football coach David Shaw here on the Rich Eisen Show. A couple more minutes on this topic. So let's talk process, because it sure sounds like my football coach, who you know well, and Jim Harbaugh, Ryan Day, James Franklin in the Big Ten, obviously Scott Frost in Nebraska, felt a little bit blindsided by the Big Ten's decision. Did the Pac-12 reach out to you guys and in your positions and give you a heads up that apparently it seems like the Big Ten did not with their football coach? Why are we not seeing essentially the same issues in Pac-12 country that we're seeing in Big Ten country about the cancellation or postponement?
First of all, those guys that you mentioned, I know very well. Ryan Day just met this past year. Have a lot of respect for him. I believe these guys are doing a great job and doing it the right way. All I can do is say with our conference, once again, I was in the working group, and we met with the coaches each week. So the working group might have met 2 or 3 times a week. We brought the coaches in and gave them updates every single week. So the coaches knew the process. They knew when it was looking good. They knew when it wasn't looking good. And many times it was looking good one week and not as good the next week. So we were able to communicate the ups and downs throughout this time. And there was a suggestion that, hey, continue to keep your student-athletes updated. Let them know where we are. Let them know that this we're excited about the possibility, but we're not sure we can get it done. So There was a lot of communication with our coaches and their athletic directors and their director of football operations people, really pretty much nonstop from about April through last week.
And then I guess just pushing it forward, what pathway do you see right now? And obviously in your answer that you just delivered, Coach Shaw, whether you say 1 week it looked good, another one it didn't, it's so difficult to predict. We have no earthly idea how the virus is going to play out. So what about winter? I mean, we're already hearing in the Big Ten and Ryan Day, along with Justin Fields, saying let's play. Now is Justin Fields saying that. But talking about a Jan 1 start, let's try then. How does that look? What's your idea of a pathway to that right now?
First of all, you said that nobody really knows. I think it would be great. I think we'd have to do it with some common sense. The later we start, the shorter the season has to be, in my opinion, in order to not adversely affect the fall of 21. So as much as we all would want to play, it's the reason why we had a 10-game season instead of a 12-game season, that play in January. I think we need to truncate a little bit. We can't just think about they got to have a full season and have a national championship, because now if you try to have a full season starting in January, you're going to play until March, April, May. And now how do you truly get your guys back and ready for training camp in August? That's a hard question to answer. Our medical professionals will have to weigh in there. We've got decades upon decades of data as far as what this sport does to the human body. And we've got to have a reasonable expectation to get our young people back by training camp of August. So my perfect world, if we can do this, if the virus cooperates, if we find answers for this heart issue, is to say, okay, we start in January and we end no later than the beginning of March. Play a truncated season, have conference championship games, and then call it a day. The NCAA has already said if we do play, it's not going to affect your eligibility. So some of those guys, if we had a short season, some of those guys would have enough film, jump into the draft at April, which I can't wait to be on the desk with you. Hopefully that happens next April for the draft. And then everybody else, if they finish in March, you can make a reasonable case that they could have some downtime, start to train, and be ready for training camp in August.
Last one for you, Coach. 1 year ago today, I don't know if you're aware of this, but it was 1 year ago today, Andrew Luck stepped to a podium in Indianapolis and made the rumor official that he was no longer going to play football. He was going to retire. When was the last time you spoke to Andrew Luck?
We've texted multiple times, spoke to him a few weeks ago. Sounds great. You've talked to people before where they're just in a great place in their lives. And that's where he is. He's got a baby girl who's growing fast, who's absolutely adorable. He's got an unbelievable wife. He's had a great career. Still thinking about what phase 2 for him is. Understands how people can feel about one way or another about how he stepped away or when he stepped away or why he stepped away. But he knows in his heart he did the right thing. We've talked to athletes over the years that have played these sports for so long. No one knows how their bodies feel. They put it off. They get a mindset that they fight through it. They love their teammates. Andrew loves to compete. He wants to be the best. And it came to a point to where he couldn't do it anymore and walked away for his health and his family. And I couldn't be more proud of him.
And you're right. When you hear somebody like that, you understand a little bit more and a little bit better. Do you think he's done with public life, though? Do you think he's done with a football life? Period. David?
That's a great question. As with so many great athletes, Andrew's athleticism and his ability to throw a football were phenomenal, but they weren't the best part of who he was or who he is. So we'll see. I don't know if he'll do any TV. I don't know what he'll do, but he's so engaging. He's so great with people. He's so smart, and he's got the mind of an engineer. So we'll see where it leads, and I would love for him to be somewhere doing something publicly, because the more people talk to him, they realize that he is an outstanding human being that I think can add a lot to our society.
Well, Coach, I appreciate that. As you know, having sat next to me for many years, I love hearing that's a great question said to me. So I appreciate that. And since you're an excellent arbiter of what a great question sounds like, do you have one for Tony Shalhoub as a Monk fan that I can forward to him at the top of my third hour? Do you got one for me to ask him?
Yeah, he's such a great character actor. He's so great at Monk, and at the same time, so great in Mizell.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if the two characters if there's something that resonates with both of them.
Okay.
Because he does such a great job of getting into those people. I'm wondering if there's any connection or if they're completely different entities.
That's a great question. Right back at you, Coach Shaw. Round of applause for David Shaw. Thanks for calling.
Hey, I'm a fan. I
Clearly.
think he's been awesome. Yeah, he was great in Men in Black.
That's right.
He's been great in a bunch of things.
He is amazing. That's why he's an award winner. Thanks for the call, Coach. You take care of yourself. Best your family. Let's stay in touch. We'll chat soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rich.
You got it. That's David Shaw. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here